come together right now. Over me.
There's 2 DC movies in a row that you've beaten on my car.
And I do not regret it. So, people, and so everybody out there, in case you were wondering exactly what we were going to be seeing tonight, it's the Justice League. Together, we are stronger. No, wait, that's Power Rangers.
Yeah. That's Together We Are More. You can't save the world alone.
There could have been better taglines, but they were probably more focused on trying to make the movie a little more workable.
Yeah. So anyway, this has been a long time coming. This is for a number of reasons.
Maybe not nearly as long as the Wonder Woman movie when we outlined all that history, but essentially this, in a lot of ways, as we've kind of figured out, this has kind of been DC's plan all along. Way back when they had George Miller, the director of the Mad Max franchise, tried to make the Justice League movie. Their original intention was to essentially do this: use Justice League to set up the characters, and then send them off on their own spin-offs. Though, of course, that would have led to a second Batman at the same time Christian Bale was currently wearing the cowl. But in the end, it worked out to be this is where we are.
Yeah. And this movie's production alone, the production of this particular version of Justice League alone has gone through several different issues and certain heavily publicized.
You could make a movie based on the production of this movie alone. It's been that much of a roller coaster ride. It's almost way more interesting to talk about the production history than it is to talk about the actual movie.
We start all the way back in March of last year. They began production on this movie when BVS came out.
The problem was they were already clear into shooting this movie when they got the news that critics and audiences were not particularly fond of Batman v Superman.
So they had to go in and change a ton of stuff.
And like we said, Suicide Squad was probably way too late to change. Like we said way back in both our Suicide Squad and our Wonder Woman reviews, Suicide Squad and Wonder Woman were basically too late to change too much to actually make Suicide Squad good, but Wonder Woman was still on the way. Hey, but they could do whatever they could. No, the Justice League, they were shooting it. It was already getting ready. So, midway through production, they basically rewrote the movie,
made it a little more lighthearted,
went in and reshot a whole bunch of it, and essentially it was supposed to be them doing a more lighthearted, funny, fun superhero movie with the DC, with what they were determining to be the overall DC style.
After that, a couple months later, they finished shooting. Everything was good. Everything was finished. The movie was in the can, ready to go. They were editing it together.
And then, because of family trauma that we will not get into, Zack Snyder ended up leaving in the middle of post-production, just before they were going to get into reshoots.
So the newly hired DC director Joss Whedon, who had already been personally hired by Zack Snyder to do rewrites on the script, stepped in to finish post-production and direct reshoots.
Now, this could have been essentially seen by most people who had not been a fan of DC up until this point, up until around Wonder Woman, as essentially DC bare-nakedly deciding we can't beat Marvel, so we're just going to steal their guide, steal the formula that works. And in a lot of ways, people have been joking about how this is kind of the exact same thing with the villain, with the nondescript henchmen, and they're going after cubes, but we won't go too deep into that.
Yeah. Then Henry Cavill, who plays Superman in the movie.
Yeah, he's in this. Don't pretend you didn't know.
Yeah. And was off shooting Mission Impossible 6, and he had a mustache. So they had to CGI his mustache off.
Because he was contractually obligated to keep the mustache. Now he could not shave it off and wear a false one when he gets back to MI6 because we'd probably be able to tell what times we were looking at.
We'd probably get a fan 4 stick situation where It was clearly different. Where between shots, his mustache would change.
And no real reason to make two movies kind of look weird.
Yeah.
But that cop didn't pull us over, by the way. Anyway, after all this, we have finally got Justice League out. We've got the two best parts of this movie, of Batman v Superman, with Ben Affleck and Gal Gadot. We finally can say her name.
We figured out her name.
Thank you, Saturday Night Live. We now know that that you pronounce the T, that you don't. It's not a long O. It's Gal Gadot.
Yes. Now, we also have the emergence of Jason Momoa as Aquaman, who we're getting a movie for next year.
We got Ezra Miller as the Flash, who
we're getting a movie when it happens. People.
Yeah. They've been running through They can't hold on to a director for that movie if they tried. They've gone through like 4 directors at this point, and I don't even know if anyone's locked down right now.
And Ray Fisher taking on the role of Cyborg. And
I wish we could say we know anything about Ray Fisher, but he has. But
this is pretty much his first big movie. This is pretty much his first big anything he's ever been in.
Yeah, he has not been. He was. If you don't count his quick little cameo in Batman v Superman, he has not done any movies or TV shows. He's a theater guy. They basically pulled him out of theater. He's not even 30 yet, and he basically just turned 30, and now he's going to be anchoring a big blockbuster the anchor of a big blockbuster franchise.
Once they figure out when that's happening.
Yeah. But we got all that. Plus, we got Henry Cavill returning because, come on, you knew he was going to be in this movie. Why are they playing coy with us? But it's kind of interesting compared to Marvel. Marvel, they had about 4 years of setup. They had 4 years of setup, but DC, at this point, we have got a superhero team of 6 where we have not even seen setup for half the team. And plus, the setup for half the team has not been well received overall.
We just got glances of Aquaman, the Flash, and Cyborg. People only know Cyborg from Teen Titans Go.
By the way, if he does not say booyah once in this movie, I'm going to be a little disappointed, because he doesn't even need to exclaim it out loud. He could just, kill a bunch of paratroopers and be like, booyah.
And then there's a lot of people who are not... But ultimately, the casual fans are probably not going to know much about everybody in this movie.
I mean, there's enough. We got Superman, we got Batman, we got Aquaman, we got Wonder Woman.
People know enough about
the Flash. Cyborg might be the one that people know the least about, that casual DC fans would know the least about. But then there's Steppenwolf, who we didn't even know it was a thing until we actually Googled it.
Until it started coming out in Batman v Superman.
And we had to actually look up who Steppenwolf is. And even then, we know bare basics that he's just basically saying, hey, we're going to get Darkseid in a future sequel. Won't that be awesome? And yeah, it would be kind of awesome if they can pull it off. And honestly, they probably wouldn't even need to cast a big name actor to play Darkseid.
Yeah. They could cast Weird Al Yankovic like they did in Teen Titans Go.
But when it comes down to this one, where we've been saying, actually we probably should have started with this because that seems to be our way of doing DCEU movies. The critics are...
They're not entirely...
Not all of them are being angry at this, but every single review that I've seen on YouTube of critics that I've kind of trusted have basically said, it's fun. It's good enough. It's got a lot of flaws, but it's good enough. We're gonna go in. We're gonna have our own opinions, but I've seen 6 different reviews by now, and pretty much all of them have been, it's good enough. It's got problems, but it's good enough.
So, with that being said, we've gone on really long, but this is a really long movie to talk about. So, we'll see you guys after the jump.
Remember a year ago when I said Zack Snyder does one thing good and hood? Well, was one of the greatest final battles in superhero movies in the last few years now.
The second the final battle shows up, it's impossible to wipe that smile off your face. Especially when it's like us, where superheroes have been ingrained in our lives for 24 years, and we've been waiting for this kind of movie.
The fact that this movie exists is a miracle, and look, this movie has all the satisfaction for you as a Big Mac. It's not good for you. It may actively be hurting you, but you're liking it while you got it. And but damn, does it feel good while you got it.
Yeah. So let's talk about it.
So, Ben Affleck as Batman, once again, pretty much one of the biggest shining... Him and Gal Gadot, like Batman v Superman, pretty much the shining lights of this whole thing. Because they're not exactly carrying the whole movie on their backs, but they're still the highlights of the movie because despite the fact that Ben Affleck has kind of been going back and forth on whether or not he actually wants this or not, still wants this or not, he is giving it his all.
Ezra Miller as the Flash, he is the backbone of the humor in this movie.
He is the epitome of everything that Barry Allen stands for as a character. And I think, and this is kind of going to be, and this may be the rule that gives Ezra Miller the power to just get up and walk out into the big spotlight. Which will probably also be evident in Fantastic Beasts 2, because we now have confirmation that he's coming back for that one.
Yes. Ray Fisher, he did really well for what we got of him.
And I really hope that we get to see more of him, because I think one of my biggest complaints is Cyborg got the least amount of... may have been one of the most important characters in the movie, but we got the least out of him.
Yeah.
Out of the main six.
Yeah.
And yeah, that includes Superman, who doesn't even show up till about halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
But that's the fact. Also, Henry Cavill. He finally got the part. He finally may have gotten the part as Superman that finally is finally going to get people to actually say he is a good interpretation of Superman.
It's a great interpretation of Superman. The way they did him was perfect. The way they did everything with him was fantastic. I loved it. I actually felt emotions, which I didn't feel at the end of BVS.
When things happen, well, why are we not spoiling? Why are we trying to avoid spoiling of BVS? It doesn't matter.
Jason Momoa as Aquaman.
He was pretty fun. You could tell he was having fun with it.
You could tell he was just having the absolute blast with what he was doing.
And I mean, that's pretty much the whole thing to take away from it. Everyone seemed to genuinely be having fun this time around. Batman v Superman was so serious all the time. It just kind of felt like they were out of their element. They were forgetting that they were a bunch of guys running around in costumes, punching each other. That's kind of what Marvel does right. They don't forget that superhero comics are kind of weird and crazy. So they just embrace it and become self-aware.
Yeah. And then also we got to the fact that there are two directors on this project.
Yeah,
it's kind of seamless.
It's kind of seamless. There are points where where you hear a line of dialogue and you're like, that is so weird. But
at the same time, it's kind of hard to divulge it, especially since they changed a lot of the scenes that a lot of the stuff that was in the trailers is kind of cut out.
Yeah, one of the things Joss Whedon has made it abundantly clear that he wanted to keep it a Zack Snyder movie, which is definitively Zack Snyder movie, and he did that. There's still a lot of Zack Snyder's, because Joss Whedon is not a director you get when you want big, elaborate shots. Joss Whedon comes from a TV background, so his essential way of shooting things is, there's the scene, point the camera, shoot it.
And the only thing, and really color correction was the one thing key difference I got from Batman v Superman, other than tone.
Yeah, because, and at times you can kind of tell that it was color corrected, that the colors are a little more bright and cheerful, which honestly I don't think hurts the movie, because at the very least it makes things feel better. I don't. I'm not gonna say that whatever Zack Snyder was making was probably gonna be a better movie, but I feel like this added something to it that it was desperately needing. And once again, it's not like this is untouched as this is untouchable. There's a lot of things wrong. Like Steppenwolf, there's nothing to him. He's one-dimensional. He doesn't even.
He's almost half-dimensional. That's how.
I mean,
much we get from him.
I mean, even say what you will about some of the worst Marvel movies, villains. At least they got a backstory. Steppenwolf, we don't get anything. All we know is big bad guy, kill him before the end of the movie.
Yeah. We also have. Also, the movie's under 2 hours long.
So I feel like I don't know what they would have done with any additional time, but I feel like they could have used about 10 more minutes, maybe.
Yeah, I honestly I'm hoping that we get an extended cut on Blu-rays so that we can see maybe a closer interpretation of what we were originally going to get before the studio mandates.
But once again, that last fight scene. It's big. It's stupidly over the top, but I was kind of loving every second of it. And look, another thing kind of wrong with this movie is that CGI probably could have used another couple layers of rendering before they actually ran this out. Because things like Cyborg looks a bit. There are some shots where he looks great, but then there are other shots where you basically know. Okay, I'm looking at a face, but there's not a lot but there's just a computer graphics attached to him, and Steppenwolf is basic, and there are points during the final battle where Steppenwolf and the people that he's fighting kind of look like an Injustice fight scene.
Yeah.
So maybe they should have let it sit and let the movie sit for a little while so that the CGI could render a little better.
Yeah.
But overall, Justice League. It's very,
movie. But I want to see it again. I definitely do.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun, and unlike when we said that Suicide Squad was fun but flawed, this is genuinely fun. I smiled more at this than I ever did for Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
And before we get home, real quick, we're gonna bring back an old segment that we haven't used since our Anchorman 2 episode.
Yeah, we're going to do spoilers.
So, we're going to give you guys a few minutes to click off if you do not want to be spoiled on Justice League. Overall, you knew you were going to... But before that, you knew you were going to see this movie anyway, so go ahead. It's not going to hurt you, but it's not going to hurt... It's not the best movie in the world, but it's definitely not going to hurt you.
Alright,
So, we'll give you another second to click off, and then we'll spoil it for you. Okay, I think they're gone.
Yeah. Okay, so there are 2 post-credit scenes in this.
Yes.
One is just kind of a funny little post-credit scene. Flash versus Superman.
That joke that they've been playing off in the comics and the TV shows and everything for years and years and years. But the second one, is a big setup for what we can assume is Justice League 2. And it's gonna be good.
We got Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor, who is actually not a fucking Max Landis caricature this time.
But we don't know that because we barely saw him. But we got confirmation on a certain someone actually being cast in the DCEU. There were rumors floating around, but now we have confirmation.
Well, they had confirmation already. But anyway, Jesse Eisenberg is back as Lex Luthor. He's out of prison, and who do we see come up to meet him on his yacht but Deathstroke, played by Joe Manganiello, and he looks freaking fantastic.
He is so comic accurate, and honestly, I want to see what they do with this. Also, Cyborg says "Booyah!" He did it! Everyone said they wanted it, and they did it. And on top of that, Danny Elfman's score, he incorporates the scores of John Williams' Superman's and his own Tim Burton Batman score from way, 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 way back in the 1980s.
Was that just a Clone High reference?
It wasn't when I started, but it was after I finished. anyway, that is, and honestly, I was not, and honestly, there's so much CGI was kind of weird that I didn't get bothered by Superman's weird mustache thing, but, you know, that's just me.
Maybe if we look closer, we'll find it, but we weren't really paying attention to that part at that point.
Yeah, but overall, Justice League is not the best superhero movie ever, but it'll get you. But if all you've ever wanted was to see these characters interacting in action and all that kind of stuff, then you're gonna get it.
Yeah.
No questions asked. It's just gonna be that, and it's not Wonder Woman. It's barely Man of Steel, but god damn if I didn't enjoy the ride while I was on it.
All right.
So we will see. So be sure to like, favorite, and subscribe, and and leave in the comments below what you thought of Justice League if you actually have seen it, which you know you have.
Yeah.
So no spoilers in the comments unless you got to this point. Crap.
Okay, so we'll see you guys next time when we take a little trip to the land of the remembered.
Bye.
Right.